Do you want to hear about the worst week of my life? It all started when my brother broke the one thing I valued most. If you think you know what happened, think again. There's more to come. If you like this story, please hit like and drop a comment below. Don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, just let me know what you think. This is the story of Hannah Miller. She is now 33 years old. She lives in Maple Ridge Estates. This tale covers her entire life in just 3 lines. It was a sunny Monday morning when I woke up with a jolt. My final thesis was due in 7 days. I had spent countless nights typing page after page in my small home office. My laptop was my best friend. It had my research, my ideas, and my late-night thoughts. I named it Luna because its glowing screen guided me through dark hours. My brother David, 2 years younger, always teased me. He would hide my notes or play pranks, but I never thought he would go too far. Our parents laughed when he pulled harmless tricks. They said it was just brotherly fun. I tried to ignore him, but this week felt different. On Tuesday, I walked into the kitchen to find David playing his video game. He yelled, "Hurry up, slowpoke!" He pushed me gently as I searched for cereal. I spilled milk all over the counter. I sighed and cleaned it up. It was a small fight, a low moment. I told myself to focus on my work and not let him bother me. That afternoon, I sat at my desk and checked my plan. I needed to finish chapter 2 of my thesis about the history of the town hall. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom said, "Dinner at 6. Be on time." I smiled, glad for a break. Getting up helped me stretch tired legs. I thought about David's antics, but laughed it off. By Wednesday, I was in the zone. I typed until my fingers ached. Then I heard a crash from the living room. I ran to see that David had knocked over my coffee cup. It spilled all over the coffee table and pooled onto the rug. I gasped. He shrugged and laughed, then ran off. I cleaned the mess, my heart pounding. It hurt to see my work threatened again. That night, I dreamed my laptop was floating away on a cloud. I reached for it, but it drifted higher. I woke up in a sweat. The next day was important. I scheduled a meeting with my advisor to go over my draft. I needed everything to be perfect. Thursday morning, I packed Luna into her red case. I grabbed my notes and left for campus. I felt proud that I had $5,000 worth of student loans paying off this project. Every dollar spent felt worth it if I could finish strong. During the ride, I thought about my brother. I decided I would ask him to leave my office alone. A simple talk, that's all. When I got home, I found a note on my door, "Gone to soccer practice. Back soon. Love, David." Good. I unlocked the door and hurried inside. I set Luna on the desk and opened her lid. The soft click made me smile. I flipped it open and my smile froze. The screen was cracked. Dark spiderweb lines covered the glass. My heart sank. I pressed the power button. Nothing happened. Luna was dead. I backed away, stunned. How did this happen? I remembered the note. He was still out. I ran to the living room. The coffee table was normal. No sign of a fall. My stomach twisted. I looked at the back door. It was closed. I tried to stay calm. I went to the kitchen. No spills, no mess. Everything was quiet. I closed my eyes. The worst thought hit me. My brother had broken Luna on purpose. And today was Friday, 1 week before the thesis deadline. I checked my watch. It was 5:30. My parents were in the den, watching TV. I hesitated, then walked in. Dad chuckled at a silly show. Mom patted his knee. I cleared my throat and showed them Luna's shattered screen. Mom and Dad looked at each other and laughed. My voice shook as I asked, "Why did you laugh?" This laptop was my work, my future. Dad shrugged playfully. "It's just a toy, honey." Mom giggled. "You can get a new one." Their laughter felt like a punch to my chest. All my late nights, all my hopes, gone in a cracked screen. I turned on my heel and ran back to my office. I sank into my chair and let the tears fall. This was no harmless prank. It was the start of something bigger. I sat there, heart pounding, mind racing. How would I finish my thesis? How could I ever trust my brother again? My thoughts swirled like a storm. The room felt cold. Outside, the sun was setting. Shadow fingers crept across the walls. I clenched my fists. The hurt turned into something fierce. I swore I would make things right. I would get revenge, and they would remember my name. Just then, I heard footsteps. David was back. He whistled a tune as he walked toward my office. I tightened my grip on the desk. The next moment would change everything. I froze as David's footstep sounded just outside my office door. My heart pounded like a drum. The broken screen of Luna lay before me, dark and lifeless. I gripped the edge of the desk, so hard my knuckles turned white. David pushed the door open, whistling a happy tune. He had no idea what he had done. I stood up slowly and looked at him. His grin faded when he saw my face. "Hannah, what's wrong?" he asked, stepping inside. I pointed at Luna. "You smashed my laptop," I whispered. "You broke Luna." He swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to," he mumbled. I tripped. "I'm sorry." I shook my head. "You're always sorry. But this time it's not a game. My thesis is due in a week. Everything is gone." David's cheeks turned pink. He looked down at the cracked screen. "I'll get you a new one," he said, voice small. I let out a bitter laugh. "You think money fixes everything? You think new keys and new files will bring back my nights and days of work?" He flinched. "Please, Hannah. I'll help you redo it." I stared at him. My mind raced. Could he really help? Or would he break more? "Fine," I said, voice cold. "But you do it. You make it right." David nodded. He looked worried but also determined. He picked up the shattered laptop gently and carried it to his room. I watched him go, chest tight. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes. I rubbed my eyes and walked to the kitchen. David was there, flipping pancakes on the stove. He had a stack ready on a plate and 2 cups of orange juice. Mom and Dad were at the table, reading newspapers. David handed me a plate. "I thought you could use a good breakfast," he said quietly. I stared at the pancakes. My stomach growled. I took a bite. They were perfect, fluffy, and warm. I nodded. "Thanks." Mom looked up. "Good morning, kids. Ready for the weekend?" I swallowed. "I have to work on my thesis," I said. "But David is going to help." Dad raised an eyebrow. "That's a nice change." David smiled shyly. "I'll do my best." After breakfast, I went back to my office. David followed with a notebook and a pencil. "Show me what you did," he said. I opened my printed drafts. I had pages of notes, outlines, and references. Together, we spent the day sorting them into piles. David learned the names of professors and dates of events. He asked questions like, "Who is Professor Collins again?" And I explained she was my advisor. By evening, we had a plan. We would work 5 hours each day. David would type while I read aloud. My back hurt, but watching him take this seriously warmed my heart. On Sunday afternoon, Mom brought lemonade and cookies. She smiled at us. "It's so nice to see you working together," she said. I forced a smile. "Yeah, we're a good team." After she left, David and I laughed over a silly typo he made. I realized he really wanted to help. It felt like a small patch over the big crack in my heart. Monday came, and we went to the library together. David carried my heavy research books to his study table. Students looked surprised to see a brother and sister working side by side. David even helped me explain some points to a classmate who needed sources. I beamed with pride. That afternoon, we returned home and worked in my office. David had improved so much that I almost forgot what happened. He looked tired but happy. Then, at 5:30, the phone rang. It was my thesis advisor, Dr. Morgan. I stood and answered. "Hello, Dr. Morgan." She sighed. "Hannah, I reviewed your first draft. You have the ideas, but your writing needs polish. Can you send me chapter 1 and 2 by Friday?" My stomach sank. Friday was 2 days away. Tomorrow was the day I had promised David to finish a big part. I looked at him. His face fell too. "We can do it," I said, trying to sound brave. That night, I lay in bed thinking. I loved that David was helping, but the clock was ticking. A storm of worry gathered in my mind. Could we really finish under pressure? What if Luna was beyond repair and we lost everything? At dawn, I heard a crash. I jolted upright. I raced downstairs to the living room. Books and papers were scattered on the floor. The coffee table was broken, one leg snapped clean off. On the floor lay my precious printed drafts, pages torn and stained with tea. I stared in shock. David stood in the doorway, eyes wide. "I'm so sorry," he stammered. I bumped into the table. I didn't see it. Tears welled up in my eyes. The room seemed to spin. All our hard work lay in ruins again. My heart cracked wider than Luna's screen. David rushed to help me pick up pages. He knelt and pressed his forehead to his hands. "I'm a disaster," he whispered. I backed away. My voice trembled. Every time we fix one thing, something else breaks. He looked up at me, regret shining in his eyes. "I will make it right, I promise." I wiped my tears. "We have 2 days. The thesis is due Friday morning. We can't stop." David nodded, determination and fear mixed in his face. As I gathered torn pages, my phone buzzed with an email notification. My heart sank. It was from Dad. Subject: dinner plans. I opened it. Inside was a photo, my thesis draft retyped, printed, and bound in a neat black folder. Underneath, a note in Dad's handwriting. "Hope this helps. Love, Dad." I stared at the folder. Relief and dread crashed inside me. Dad had somehow retyped everything. But if he knew my work, why hide it? Why not tell me before? Before I could speak, David grabbed the folder and hugged it like a treasure. "We're saved," he whispered. I looked at him, at the folder, at the mess around us. My heart pounded. Something felt off. Why did Dad do this behind our backs? And what would happen when I opened that folder? I stood in the middle of the broken coffee table and scattered pages, a new storm raging inside me. Friday morning was coming, and with it, the answer to everything. But at that moment, I felt a cold fear that my brother and my parents were keeping secrets from me. Thunder rumbled outside the window, shattering the quiet. A single drop of rain tapped the glass, like a metronome counting down the hours. I clenched the folder tight and looked at David. His eyes were on me, waiting. I took a deep breath. The folder felt heavy in my hands. I would open it, and then everything would change. The rain tapped again, louder this time, as if urging me forward into the unknown. My hands trembled as I stared at the black folder in my lap. Rain pattered against the window, each drop echoing like a heartbeat. I looked at David, whose face was pale with hope and fear. I took a shaky breath and opened the cover. Inside, the pages gleamed with fresh ink. Every word I had written was there, printed neatly. My research, my notes, my own sentences. Everything was exactly as I remembered. I flipped through a few pages, feeling a rush of relief. My thesis was safe. My work was saved. Then I stopped on a page I didn't recognize. A margin note in neat, looping handwriting read, "Remember the cost of trust." Below it was a single line, Chapter 3, The Hidden Draft. I paused, puzzled. This wasn't my handwriting. My eyes darted to the next page. More margin notes, underlined sentences, and dates that I hadn't written. August 14th, September 2nd, October 31st, dates from my childhood. I frowned and flicked ahead to Chapter 1. There I found a paragraph tucked between my own words, describing a day when I was 8 and had hidden my favorite doll in a secret box. My breath caught. This was not part of my thesis. Someone had inserted my memories into my academic work. I slammed the folder shut and stared at David. His eyes were wide. He shook his head. "I didn't do this," he whispered. I forced myself to calm down. "Then who?" I asked. Why would Dad do this? David stood, running a hand through his hair. Maybe he thought it was some kind of idea. To make it personal, I thought of our parents laughing when Luna broke. I thought of how Dad stood in the living room yesterday, smiling as he handed me the folder. How could he think this was okay? My heart sank again. I pushed the folder toward David. Take this, I said, voice low. Hide it somewhere. Don't let Mom or Dad see me with it again. He nodded and tucked it under his arm. I watched him go, my mind spinning. I sat on the edge of my chair, feeling the rain's cold breath on my neck. The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm inside me. Later that night, I lay awake in my bed. The rain had turned to a steady downpour. Thunder rolled in the distance. I thought of the strange notes in my thesis. Who knew my secrets? I closed my eyes and tried to remember every moment I had shared with my family in this house. Every laugh, every argument. A shiver ran down my spine. Morning came, gray and dripping. I forced myself to get up and dressed in jeans and a sweater. David and I had plans. A full day at the campus computer lab to type as much as we could. I needed to rebuild my chapters and refine my writing. But first, I had to know more about this hidden draft. I tiptoed into the living room. My parents were at the table, coloring books and coffee cups strewn around. They looked up as I approached. Breakfast. Mom offered with a bright smile. I forced a smile back. Just coffee, thanks. Dad poured for me, then spread his hands. Feeling better? He asked. I nodded. Yes, and thank you for the folder. I kept my eyes on my mug. It helped. He leaned back, satisfied. I'm glad. You have so much talent. We just want to see you succeed. I nodded again, but inside a storm raged. Their words felt empty after the betrayal in those pages. I sipped my coffee slowly, tasting bitterness I didn't add. By mid-morning, David and I were in the computer lab. He had already opened his laptop and lined up our printed outlines. We worked in silence for a while, the only sounds the tapping of keys and the hum of printers. I focused on recreating chapter 1, retyping each sentence as if learning it anew. David watched carefully, pausing to ask about a term or a reference. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Don't trust what you see. My heart froze. I stared at the message, then at David. He looked over. Something wrong. I showed him the phone. He frowned. Maybe a wrong number? I shook my head. No. It came 2 minutes ago. Right now. David's eyes flicked to the door. Let's go, he whispered. We packed up quickly and left the lab. Outside, the rain had eased to a soft drizzle. We hurried to the car, and David drove us back to Maple Ridge Estates, both of us silent. At home, I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to that message and the notes in my thesis. Who had sent that text? Who had added those pages? And why? Late that afternoon, I decided to check the security camera footage on my laptop. If Luna could be repaired, I might retrieve the video files. I carried the shattered laptop to the kitchen table and carefully removed the back panel. My hands were steady. I found the hard drive and slid it into an external case I kept for backups. I hooked it up to David's laptop. The drive whirred to life. Files appeared in a list. Documents, photos, videos, and a hidden folder named Drafts. I clicked it open. Inside were dozens of files labeled by date. 2010/8/14.docs. 2011/09/docs. 2012/10/51.docs. Matching the dates and the margin notes. My breath sped up. These must be old drafts I had forgotten, or perhaps files I never saw, written when I was a child. I opened the oldest one. The document's title read, My Secret Box. I read the first lines. When I was 8, I hid my snow globe inside a small wooden box under my bed. I drew pictures and wrote stories in a notebook I called my treasure. My eyes blurred. I had written that in third grade, never showed anyone. How did it get here? I clicked the next file. Thesis / chapter 1 / updated docs. I opened it and saw my first chapter, mixed with personal memories from childhood. Footnotes described events no one outside our family would know. My heart pounded. Someone had combined my academic research with my private memories. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Stop digging or you'll lose more. My hands shook as I read it. I looked at David. His face was ashen. Suddenly, the lights in the house flickered. A gust of wind slammed against the windows. The rain returned in sheets. In that moment, every memory of my family felt like a lie. The house groaned around us. I clenched the laptop and looked at David. He looked back, eyes wide. The hidden folder, the messages, the margin notes. It wasn't just a prank. Someone was watching me. Someone knew my secrets. At that instant, the front door burst open. A dark shape lurched into the entryway. The sound of splintering would echoed through the hall. David shouted, "Who's there?" But no one answered. The shape moved closer, and I felt a cold hand wrap around my wrist. A scream caught in my throat as the lights went out, plunging us into darkness. In the pitch black, I heard a voice, one I recognized but couldn't place, whisper, "You shouldn't have opened it." I yanked my arm back and stumbled away, heart racing. The storm outside roared like an angry beast. The hidden drafts, the secret messages, and now an intruder. It all pointed to something far deeper and darker than I ever imagined. And in that moment, as thunder cracked overhead, I realized that chapter 3 of my life was about to become the most dangerous yet. I yanked my arm away from the stranger's cold grip and stumbled backward. Darkness pressed in around me. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would burst. I reached for David's hand, but he was already pulling at my other arm, shouting, "Hannah, run!" We dashed toward the hallway, feet slipping on the wet floor where rain had blown in through the broken door. My breath came in short gasps. I didn't know who had tried to grab me, but the voice, soft and mocking, still rang in my ears. "You shouldn't have opened it." Rainwater dripped down my back. I felt like I might collapse from fear and cold. We made it to the stairs and scrambled up 2 at a time, not looking back. My mind raced. Why was someone in our house? Who knew my secrets? At the top of the stairs, David slammed the door shut behind us. We leaned against it, panting. Light from the hallway lamp flickered as thunder rumbled overhead. I looked at my brother's face. His skin was pale, and his eyes were wide with fear. "Who was that?" he whispered. I shook my head, my hair plastered to my forehead. "I don't know." I pressed my ear to the door and heard heavy breathing on the other side. "They're still out there." David's jaw clenched. "We have to lock it." He fumbled with the doorknob and managed to slam the lock into place. The click echoed like a promise. We both slid down the wall until we were sitting on the floor, backs against the door. My legs trembled so badly I could barely feel them. After a moment, David found his voice. "We need to call the police." He brushed rainwater off his pants and reached into his pocket for his phone. But the storm must have knocked out the lines. He tried dialing, but the call didn't go through. "No signal," he muttered. I swallowed hard, trying to clear my head. The house was silent now, except for the rain and our ragged breathing. I remembered the hidden drafts and the messages on my phone. Whoever it was, they knew my every move. My chest tightened. "We can't wait here," I said. David nodded slowly. "My room is safer. It's far from the front door and has a solid lock." He held out his hand. I took it, and we crawled to his room at the end of the hall. Inside, I closed the door and turned the key. We sat on his bed, shivering. I looked at the window. Lightning flashed, and for a moment I saw a shadow move across the glass, tall, thin, and silent. I gasped and pulled the curtains closed. David flinched. "They saw us," I whispered. He wiped his forehead. "Okay, we need a plan." He stood and peered out the tiny crack between the curtains. "The back door is probably open too," he said. "We must assume they can come from any entry." I nodded, feeling the weight of every second. "What about Mom and Dad?" I asked. "They're in the den downstairs." The thought of them alone made my chest ache, but I knew we couldn't endanger them by going down. We should call them upstairs. David found his voice again. "No, they might open the door for us. If it's the intruder, they could walk right in." His eyes were fierce. "We have to get out of the house and find help." I bit my lip. "Through the window?" He shook his head. "Too high, 2 stories up." He strode to his desk and grabbed a flashlight. "I have rope in my closet. We could climb down." He pointed to a small window next to his bed with a wide sill. "If we secure the rope, we can lower ourselves." My heart hammered with fear, but I nodded. "Let's do it." We worked in silence. David tied one end of the rope to his bedpost, checking it twice. I held the flashlight steady as he tied a loop. The storm's fury shook the house, and distant thunder rattled the walls. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped the light. Finally, we were ready. David opened the window an inch at first, then wider. Rain blasted my face, cold and stinging. I scooted close to the edge and looked down. It was a long drop, maybe 15 feet, to the uneven ground below. My stomach lurched. "Are you sure?" I whispered. He gave me a small, encouraging smile. "We can do this. Together." He went first, sliding down the rope until his feet found the ground. He steadied himself, then looked up and threw me a reassuring nod. I took a deep breath, gripped the rope, and slid down. My fingers burned from the friction. I landed with a thud, my knees buckling. I gripped the rope for a moment, then let go and stumbled backward. David caught me and wrapped his arm around my shoulder. We ran into the rain-soaked yard toward the old tool shed at the side of the house. Inside the shed, it was stuffy but sheltered. We crouched behind stacks of paint cans and gardening tools. Water dripped through cracks in the roof. I hugged my arms around myself, shivering. David found 2 old flashlights and batteries, then checked the rope tied to the bedpost. He nodded. "The rope will hold them, but it won't hold forever. We need to move." I looked at him. "Okay." We crawled to the back fence, where a rusty gate led to the neighbor's yard. The clouds glowed with distant lightning. I reached for the gate and pulled it open. It squealed loudly, and the sound echoed across the night. I froze. "Sure," David hissed, pulling me inside. The gate swung shut behind us. We ran through the neighbor's yard, hurtling over a low flower bed. The storm blurred our vision. I stumbled and fell into wet grass, the chill seeping through my jeans. But David pulled me up immediately, and we sprinted toward the street. At the end of the road, an old street lamp cast a weak glow. We paused under it, panting, laughing through fear. The rain finally eased to a light drizzle. I looked back at the house. Lightning flickered in the windows. I felt an ache in my chest, fear for my parents, worry for the secrets someone knew, and the terror of the voice that warned me. Then, in the window of the den, I saw a figure standing still, watching us. At first I thought it was Mom or Dad, but the posture was too stiff. The flash of lightning illuminated a face I recognized. It was Mom, only she wasn't alone. Behind her, in the shadows, stood the stranger from the hallway, tall and silent, the edges of a hood visible. Mom's hand reached out, pointing toward us. My blood ran cold. She knew the intruder, and she was letting them stay. A bolt of lightning split the sky, and I felt the ground tremble beneath my feet. I grabbed David's hand, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd collapse again. The storm roared once more, and the stranger's whisper echoed in my mind. "You shouldn't have opened it." And in that moment, I realized the greatest danger lay not outside, but inside the walls of my own home. I squeezed David's hand so tight I thought I might crush his fingers. Lightning flashed one last time, and I saw Mom's pale face in the den window. The stranger stood behind her, silent and still. Fear thundered through me, but I knew what I had to do. "We have to go back," I whispered to David. He nodded, face set with determination. We dashed across the street and slipped through the gate into our backyard. The wet grass soaked our shoes, but we didn't care. Every step brought us closer to the truth hidden inside our home. The back door was cracked open, rain dripping through. I swallowed hard and peeked inside. The hall was dark except for a flashlight beam dancing on the walls. Dad's voice echoed softly, calm and gentle. "She'll come around. She always does." Mom's voice answered, cold and distant. "It's time." My heart froze. They were talking about me. I clenched my fists. "No," I whispered. "It's time I find out why." David and I crept inside, moving like shadows. The den door was closed. We pressed our ears to it. John, our dad, was pacing. John said, "You did well. She's almost ready." Mary, Mom, replied, "Yes. Once she sees everything, she will understand. She will help us." My skin prickled. What did they want me to do? I felt anger rise up. They had laughed when David broke Luna. They had hidden my memories in my own thesis. They had let an intruder into our home. I gripped the door handle and twisted. It opened with a creak. They froze, startled. I stepped in, David at my side. John's eyes were wide. Mary's face was blank. The stranger stood behind them, hood still up. I raised my voice. "What's going on? Who is that person? And why did you break my trust?" Dad swallowed and took a step forward. "Hannah, please." I cut him off. "Don't please me. You laughed when Luna died. You put my childhood secrets into my thesis. You let that intruder into our house." Mom's lips trembled. "We did it for you," she said softly. "To protect you." I stared, disbelief burning inside. "Protect me? By tearing my life apart?" She nodded, eyes glistening. "There is something you don't know. Something you forgot long ago." I backed away, heart pounding. I remember hiding my doll under the bed. I remember the box and the snow globe. I remember everything. Mary shook her head. "No, not those memories. I mean the memory you lost when you were 6. She looked at the stranger. "Show her." The hooded figure stepped forward into the light. My breath caught. It was me, or a girl who looked exactly like me, only younger, 6 years old, wearing a faded yellow dress, hair in pigtails. I gasped. "That's me." The young girl nodded. Her eyes were sad. "I'm the real Hannah," she whispered. "The you forgot." I felt the room spin. David reached out, but I shook my head. "This is crazy." The younger me spoke again. "When you were born, I died. I was stillborn. You replaced me, but I stayed here in this house watching. You forgot me because you were meant to live." My legs trembled. Tears spilled down my cheeks. John stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "We tried to tell you gently. We thought you needed to finish your thesis first." I sank to my knees. "You let me struggle for a week. You let me suffer." David knelt beside me. "Hannah, it's okay. We love you." The younger me reached out and touched my hand. I felt a chill, then warmth. "It's not your fault," she said. "I forgive you." Mary knelt too. "We never meant to hurt you. We just—" I stood up, wiping my cheeks. "I forgive you," I said. I looked at each of them, Mom, Dad, David, and the younger me. "But I need a promise." They looked at me, expectant. I took a deep breath. "No more secrets. No more lies. We face everything together." John nodded, voice trembling. "Yes, Hannah. Together." Mary reached out and took my hand. "We're sorry." The storm outside eased. The rain slowed to a gentle patter. The house felt lighter, as if a cloud had lifted. Suddenly the power surged back on. Lights flickered in every room. My laptop Luna in the corner glowed to life, screen whole and bright. Pages of my thesis appeared on the desktop, fully restored. I stared in disbelief. "Luna!" I whispered. David laughed, tears in his eyes. "She's back." My heart swelled. The hidden drafts were gone. The messages on my phone vanished. The intruder, the memory, had found peace. I picked up Luna and opened her lid. The screen shone like the moon on a still night. Luna's glow filled the room with soft light. I turned to my family, feeling love and relief. "Let's finish my thesis," I said, smiling through tears. The younger me stepped back into the shadows, then faded away, leaving a light breeze in her place. We gathered around my desk, ready to work, united at last. And as the first words appeared on Luna's screen, I knew our family's secrets had been laid to rest, and our future shone brighter than ever before.